Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, and as you can guess by the title, we are having more paranormal activity. I don't know what else to call it. Again, I am doing this video while sitting in the parking lot of the hospital. For anybody new to my channel, I'm pregnant, and today is our anatomy scan. We find out what we are having. Very excited. But I got here early. So, and I've been wanting to make this video, but as I explained the last time in my last ghost story, my house is haunted video, I don't like talking about what's going on in the house just because, like, okay, so, like, I believe in ghosts. Like, I wouldn't be doing this story if I didn't, but I don't want ghosts and spirits and all that stuff. I totally believe in it. I've seen way too much stuff in my life not to believe in it. And I don't want whatever is in my house to know that I know that it's there. Make sense? Okay. Which, for anybody who's just tuning in, I'm pretty sure it's my grandfather. We live in my grandparents' house. My grandfather passed away in the house, and last summer my grandmother had to go into a nursing home, and so we kind of inherited the house. I know everybody who's been watching my channel for a while is probably getting really sick of me saying that, but just, you know, there are people tuning in who don't know what's going on. I'm just kind of like trying to catch everybody up a little bit. So yeah, my grandfather passed away in the house. We moved in last June-ish time frame, and maybe it was last July. But every time we do any kind of changes to the house, it seems things just start happening. And the last video I made, we had cleaned out what will be the nursery, which happened to be my grandfather's bedroom when he was alive. My grandmother and him had separate bedrooms due to health problems and bladder control issues, and you can kind of fill in the blanks there. So that room that's going to be the baby's room was my grandfather's room. And the last time we had a lot of activity going on, we had cleaned out that room and gotten rid of a lot of stuff in there. Well, this time we have started pulling all of the old carpet out of the house. The carpet that's in the house is about 30 years old, and I know my grandpa paid to have it laid down, probably paid a lot of money for it when he had it laid down, and I don't know. And that carpet's been there like my whole life. I don't ever remember a time when the house didn't have the carpet. But it has really nice hardwood floors underneath. And that carpet was just so nasty. Like, there was no way we wanted to have a baby in the house with the carpet that gross. And since pulling it out, we're breathing a lot better. I mean, it just had so much dust and buildup in it. It was getting nasty. So we worked on pulling all that out. We pulled all the carpet out of the nursery. We've pulled it all out of the dining room and living room. We're working on pulling it out of the spare room, and then we still have to pull it out of our room. Well, after pulling up the carpet, we've started having things happen again. Again, I had an instance where I was in the basement messing with the laundry, and I heard footsteps upstairs. It sounded like a person walking around. And I tried to play it off first and be like, oh, maybe it's the cat. I mean, it wasn't as distinct as the first time I heard footsteps, the ones where I heard it like through the living room, through the dining room, into the kitchen, and I was like, oh my God, somebody's in my house and I'm gonna die. They weren't that distinct, and they didn't go on for as long. It was just like somebody was walking around in the dining room is what it sounded like, and then it stopped. And I was kind of like, oh, maybe it's the cats, whatever. I look over, and Banjo's downstairs with me. And for those of you who don't know, Banjo is our cat. He is 15 pounds. He's a big kitty, and he's kind of like an oaf. He's just like bull in a china shop. I mean, he's not dainty. Oliver, you can't hear him. When you're down in the basement, you can't hear him walking around. Banjo, you can. And normally, you know, when I hear Banjo walking around, I know it's Banjo. It's just a distinct sound. It's way different than a human walking around upstairs. But since the footsteps were a little bit different sounding, I was like, well, you know, maybe it was Banjo. Just try to ignore it. No, Banjo was down in the basement with me on his cat tree. And I didn't realize that until I turned around and looked. But he was in the basement with me on the cat tree. That was not Banjo. So that was probably like one of the most recent things that happened. I was kind of like, oh great, it's happening again. I've started finding random nails laying around again. For those of you just tuning in, when my grandfather first passed away, my grandma would find random nails just laying around just for like no good reason. And when we first moved into the house, and it was always something that would like go in cycles with her. It would like You know, she'd have activity and then it'd stop, and she'd have activity and then it'd stop. And I don't want to say that's kind of how it's going with us, though that's kind of how it feels, but it's anytime we make any major changes to the house, we're having activity start. And I've started finding random nails again, which when we first moved in, I was finding random screws. Well, now I'm finding random nails, just old, rusty, random nails. Like, where is this coming from? There's no reason. I haven't hung anything up or pulled any nails out. There's like no reason for this old thing to be here, but it is nonetheless. I found one in our bedroom yesterday while I was doing my makeup, and I just glanced on the floor, and there's an old nail that's painted white laying on the floor next to me. I'm like, that's great. I couldn't step on that and like drive it through my foot or anything. But having some things going on with like the kitchen cabinets. I'm the only one at home most of the time, except for on the weekends. And I'm very good about closing the cabinets. I always close the cabinets behind me. And unless I'm getting like breakfast or lunch or something, or like, you know, eating, I don't really get into the kitchen cabinets. And there's been several occasions where I've walked into the kitchen and there'll just be a cabinet open. Like, no good reason. It'll be a cabinet that I haven't gotten into that day. And I'm just like, okay then, whatever, and go shut it. And it's never just like the same cabinet. It'll, you know, it varies. It's different cabinets, and they come open for whatever reason. And it'll be cabinets I know I haven't opened that day. Haven't opened them, but they're open. And most recently, well, not most recently, all of this is kind of going on at the same time, but I guess the most intense activity, or however you want to say it, freakiest, was one night after Mike, not nighttime, it was morning, Mike had left for work, and I just started hearing so much stuff going on in the living room and in the dining room, and it just sounded like things were being moved around and ruffled through, and it was just kind of like really weird and creepy, really freaked me out. And I was just laying there like, you know, that's just it. I had my bedroom door locked, but it really freaked me out, and it really had me creeped out. Just, you know, hearing everything being messed with. And I know it wasn't the cats. It's not a sound that they would ever make. I mean, it literally sounded like somebody was like on the dining room table, like looking through our paperwork that's sitting there, because we have like all of our bills and stuff that sit on the dining room table. And then it sounded like they went over to like the dresser and was messing, like we have a dresser in our dining room that we use as a dining hutch and has like our fancy silverware and like all that stuff in it. And it sounded like somebody was like going through the dresser, and it was just really weird and creepy. And then it got quiet in there, and I was just like laying there trying to go back to sleep, trying to ignore it. And then I had this, well, it's still there, but I have this Revo chapstick that sits next to my bed, and it looks like one of those EOS lip balms. It's round and it's got a flat bottom, so it sits on the flat bottom. That thing has been next to my nightstand since I bought it. I've had it forever, like, I don't know, 6-7 months. I've had it for a long time. I use it every night. And I'm just laying there, things go quiet, and I'm like, oh, okay, it's good, it stopped. And then I distinctly hear the sound of that chapstick rolling across my nightstand. Like, what the, like, I'm the only one in the bedroom, the cats are not in there with me, and I hear this thing roll across my nightstand. Very distinct sound. And I'm like, oh my God, what the hell? And I open my eyes and look over, and the chapstick is sitting right where it's always been. It hasn't moved. But I heard it move. I heard it roll across my nightstand. So that was really freaky. I think that's kind of, oh no, I had another one. Okay, so I was grooming a dog. I'm a groomer, and I have a few clients that do come over to be groomed. And I groom in our kitchen right now because we need to set up our back porch for me to groom on. So our basement door is in our kitchen. And this basement door is really old, and it's one of those you gotta like kind of slam it to get it to latch. It's just an old door. If you shut it like a normal door, like gently, it's not gonna latch, it's gonna pop open. We leave that door open because the litter box is down there. I hadn't been down there in a few days, but the door is open for the litter box, and I'm grooming one of my dogs. And I mean, my doors are shut. I don't have any windows open. Like, there's no pressure change to cause this. And out of nowhere, the basement door just slams shut. Just on its own, slams shut. And I look up and I'm like, oh, that's creepy. But I can clearly see, like, the door is latched. It is shut. And so I just like, okay, whatever. And go back to grooming. Like, I'm trying so hard just to ignore this kind of stuff. And, like, not bring a lot of attention to it. Like, you know, act like I don't notice. But I just, you know, I went back to grooming. And a few minutes later, I see Oliver walk around the corner. It's not really a corner. It's a flat wall with a door. But we have Molly's cage next to the door, so it kind of makes a corner. So, like, we can look over the cage and see the door, but can't see the bottom of the door. Well, Oliver comes around the corner from Molly's cage, and I look up, and I'm like, well, the basement door is shut. And I knew he was in the basement, but the basement door is shut. And I was like, well, that's weird. And I look up at the door, and the door is open again. Like, somebody had opened it. And I'm like, that's just so... And that thing was latched. It was shut. It was shut. And that was probably, like, that and the Revo chapstick were the two that, like, freaked me out the most. I mean, those are just, like, really intense, you know? But, yeah, that's just kind of what's been going on. And then I talked to my mom about it, and my mom came over again, and she just kind of talked to my grandpa and was like, hey, they're having a baby and they're pulling out the carpet and this is what's going on, and we haven't had any more activity since then. And my mom keeps telling me, she's like, whenever anything happens, just talk to him and tell him what's going on, and it'll, you know, tell him grandma doesn't live here anymore, whatever. And every time my mom has come over, like anytime we have activity going on, my mom has come over and like talked to him in a sense, and everything stops. And I should just, you know, talk to him, I guess, but it just makes me uncomfortable. I don't feel like you're supposed to communicate with spirits, but just having, like, I don't know if you want to call it a sixth sense or whatever, but it seems to run in my mom's side of the family. My mom and a lot of her sisters and several of my cousins we're all very sensitive to paranormal things, and we get feelings, and a lot of times I'll get a feeling off of the spirit, essentially. Sometimes I can get a feeling of gender or an age kind of thing. I know this all sounds crazy to some people who don't believe it, but I've had this my whole life. But the thing that freaks me out the most about what's going on in our house is that I don't get any feeling or sense of there being a spirit in the house. I don't get any feeling of anything, but we are having activity going on. And that, I think, is what freaks me out the most, is because a lot of the times, like, I can be in places and I'll just get a feeling or a feel for something, but there's nothing. Like, I'm in my house and I feel comfortable and I don't have any feeling of anything else being there. And I think that's just kind of what creeps me out the most. But I don't know. My mom goes in, she talks to him. Oh, and that's what I was getting at, is, you know, my cousins, myself, my aunts, my grandmother, her mom. I don't know if it just runs in that side of the family or what, but a lot of us we're really sensitive to spirits being around and stuff. I know how that sounds to other people. People are like, you're a freaking whack job. I know that. I know it sounds nuts. But I'm 26 and I've had experiences since I was like 4 or 5 years old. I was really little, my first one that I remember having. And it's just, I've had it my whole life and I don't like it. I try to ignore it. I don't want to communicate with anything. I just want it to go away. But it happens and it's freaking creepy. But I don't know, you guys seem to like these stories and I like being able to talk about it a little bit. But yeah, that'll kind of wrap things up for this go round. Let me know if you guys have ever experienced anything. You put your stories in the comments below. I love reading other people's experiences because it lets me know I'm not crazy. It lets me know there's other people out there who go through this as well, which I know there are, you know, but it's still nice to hear it from other people. So yeah, that'll be it for today. I'll talk to you guys in a few days. Bye. I know, I've got your leash, so you can't go barking like an idiot. Yeah, because you're a jerk and you'll go bark. So you're gonna chill back here. Yeah. Yeah, he's making you bad. Don't get to go bark at people.